All right, we don't have first round draft picks and we don't have all NBA talent, but I wouldn't trade either of these dudes for anyone. Welcome back to Three in the Key, brought to you by FineBet. Me and two of the coolest dudes in sports journalism break down the NBA from matchups to social media shade to fashion. I'm Daniel Tran. Here with me is Sandeep kicking in the Bay, and as always, Henry Curry, aka Henny Curry, coming in from Southern California. Sandeep, if you demanded a trade from your main friend clique, which friend clique would you rather be traded to?
I wouldn't demand a trade because you know why? My boy Drake said no new friends. All right.
I mean, we got a big trade, man. Big trade in the NBA. It freaking happened. It finally happened. And all it took was a birthday party at a club, a little weight gain, and calling out his team publicly. Harden finally got his wish. He was traded to Brooklyn to join forces with his buddy Kevin Durant. Brooklyn, they gave up Caris LeVert and Karuk and 3 first-round draft picks and 4 pick swaps to the Houston Rockets. And the Nets, they also sent Jared Allen and Taurean Prince to the Cavs in exchange for a second-round pick. And then the Cavs sent Dante Exum and the Bucks first-round draft pick to Houston to complete the trade. But that's not all. The trade did not end there. Houston sent Caris LeVert to Indiana for Victor Oladipo, only to find that Caris LeVert had a mass on his kidney. A kidney is crazy. I can't believe they actually cleared the trade after he failed that physical. I mean, I guess maybe it's not a technically failed physical, but they found something wrong. But because of that, the Nets gave cash and the Cavs second-round draft pick to the Pacers. So now we have 4 teams that look completely different than they did at the beginning of the season. So we got Brooklyn. At best, I'm looking at the situation right now. They have, at best, 3 all-NBA players working towards a championship together. And at worst, they have 2 all-NBA players and trade bait if Kyrie decides to continue doing Kyrie things throughout the season. So we got Durant and Hardin, combo that flexed their potential, their first game out, combined for 74 points. Harden had 14 assists and 4 steals. And finally, Harden actually looks like an all-NBA player that is ready to just take over the league once again. And all he needed was a change of scenery. Sandeep, are the Nets the team to beat in the East now?
They already were in my eyes. You know, I think I mentioned on our show before that preseason my pick was, you know, the Nets coming out of the East. But
how do you feel about that, Henry? Because the Celtics are high on your list.
No, I mean, I'll let Sandeep take over, and then I got my thoughts.
Yeah, so the Nets they're still the team to beat, although the Celtics are right there behind. You know, do they have the 3 all NBA players? No, but they got a couple really good guys in Tatum and Brown. So, and then Kemba's coming back today, you know, according to Shams. So that's a big boost for them. And they're already number 1 in the East, which I feel like no one's really talking about enough. You know, they're 8-3 through the first few weeks of the season. So yeah, man, that's, you know, 3 all NBA guys, like you said. Hopefully Kyrie comes back. I think he's supposed to be back on the court within the next day or two. He almost played yesterday. But man, that team offensively is going to be scary. You know, it's going to be a nightmare for teams to guard them. But on the flip side, it's going to be hard for them to guard teams as well. And they gave up their best defender in Jared Allen in that deal. And Caris LeVert, who's I think if you look at the ratings, he was like one of their highest rated defenders too, based on that rating. So, I mean, they had to give up talent, right? To give up something to get a guy like James Harden, and they got their guy. So it worked out for them. And I don't think they gave up too much either. Like, even though those are 2 good players, right? And like they gave up 4 picks and 4 pick swaps, but like essentially what they gave up is 2 good players and 4 picks, because the swaps just means you still got picks, you just give up your better picks. So yeah,
for an MVP player that like got the MVP within like the last 3 years, like it's crazy how little they actually gave up when you look at it to get a player of that caliber. Henry, I mean, you've been paying attention to the Celtics for a while, and now that the Nets have James Harden, does anything change? Is there any like panic, especially even with like Kemba Walker coming back?
Not panic per se, but honestly, I'm just worried about the Nets' actual depth in the team, because now if you look at it, they don't. Spencer Dinwiddie's out with injury. They don't have Caris LeVert anymore. Jared Allen is out. And when I think of the Nets, I used to think that was their actual, initial core that this Nets team like put themselves on the map with. Now that they're all gone, yes, I know they have 3 MVP caliber players. They have 2 players that have already won championships, so they have a lot of pedigree there. But in terms of like when those guys are off the floor, when Kyrie's having an episode and not showing up to games, if James Harden starts doing that, They only have really just Kevin Durant, who's stable enough to play game in and game out. So that's my only worry, to see how stable can their big three be throughout the season. Because if it's not going to be stable, then I don't really have much to worry about. At least in the Celtics view, because the Celtics themselves are a pretty stable team. Like they got guys going to have team chemistry, and that's the only thing too. Like they need to build up that chemistry. They still haven't played with Kyrie yet, so we still have to see that. Like, how do you guys think that's gonna finally pan out? We saw a taste with KD and James Harden on the floor. It looked great. Don't get me wrong. They look terrific together. Obviously, they have experience back in OKC, but with Kyrie back in the mix, especially in these clutch time situations, I saw a meme of like KD and Harden guarding Kyrie, and it was just like, yeah, I feel like they're gonna kind of be battling for that ball possession. So
Kyrie's gonna be the most sensitive about that late game situation, because like you said, Harden and KD have played together before, and going back to what you said, like you said, KD will be the most stable. I think Harden will be the most stable just because KD's still coming off that injury. He might sit some games here and there, and then Kyrie, he might sit some games, or he might decide to take more PTO at some point during the season. So Harden's going to be the guy that's always playing every single night, and thankfully he's always been a guy who's been able to be on the court. So it's going to be interesting, like you said, when he comes back. Dan, what are your thoughts? You think Kyrie's going to fit in or no?
Man, I mean, just judging from how Kyrie is taking the whole situation right now, I'm not sure if he's going to be on the team by the time that trade deadline happens.
I want him though.
I don't know, and his contract's huge, so it's going to be tough for him to find a home if he demands a trade. But no matter what happens, I think because KD and James Harden have that chemistry, I think they're going to be okay no matter what. Because if Kyrie decides to buy in, then they have 3 all NBA players, and if he doesn't decide to buy in, they have 2 players that can carry a team all by themselves. So I think no matter what, the Nets are going to be pretty high up there in terms of playoff race. And I think we're going to find a lot of success no matter what. So no matter what happens, I think that the Nets are just going to be okay no matter what Kyrie does. But the thing about the trade is that it also changes what happens with Houston out in the West. I mean, they're pretty near the bottom already. I mean, we're talking about a team that was second from the bottom of the Western Conference once James Harden got traded, but they got rid of a huge distraction for that team, right? And if healthy, I mean, we're looking at John Wall, Christian Wood, and Victor Oladipo on the same team. Freaking formidable team. And now they have 4 extra first-round draft picks to build off of or trade for another star. Does this, Henry, does this trade remotely make a difference for this season, though? I mean, judging from how record-wise they're doing right now.
I feel like it is. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, but the first game against the Spurs without James Harden, they ended up winning that game, and that's a huge confidence boost for the team for starting a new era, without their franchise player. But honestly, at least this is my opinion, I feel like the Rockets, at least this season, got better in this trade, getting Victor Oladipo, because now they can focus more of a team-oriented basketball instead of, just trying to run the offense through Harden, because you brought up a great point. They have a solid roster. Christian Wood is playing amazing. He's going to be the most improved player. DeMarcus Cousins, he still gets a lot of texts. He still rants on the court, but he's a solid big man still. And adding Victor Oladipo to the mix with John Wall, I feel like, okay, now it's a more well-balanced team than what it was before. It was very unorthodox with James Harden there. At least those are my thoughts. I do see them winning, let's say, maybe, getting into the playing round. But aside from that, at least they're in a better position in my eyes than what they were, because with James Harden, because James Harden wasn't trying. He didn't care. You guys saw that. Like, he was playing games, like he was throwing ball out of bounds, like seemingly almost on purpose and stuff. And like the team wasn't with him on the same page because James Harden just wanted to be out. So now that's removed, I feel like the Rockets are in a better place. What do you think, Sandeep? Do you think the Rockets are better now, post-trade, or were they still better pre-trade?
So here's my thoughts on the whole Houston situation. Like, it's good that they got Harden out. He was a distraction, like you guys both mentioned. You don't want to be there, so it's like you want to get a guy like out of there as soon as you can, But I think they messed up because there was reports that Tillman didn't want to give didn't want to give Daryl Morey James Harden, and that means he had a chance to get Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey plus probably a couple picks. If that's true, he messed up. For Houston fans, y'all take an L for that one. And there's a chance now that Victor Oladipo might not even play in a Rockets uniform because I read some things that he maybe doesn't even want to be there, and so he could be maybe flipped as an asset to go somewhere else. And the one team he's been connected to for the past few years is Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And where he'd want to stay long term. So if Houston can flip him and get a guy like Tyler Hero back in a trade, man, then I'll say they win the trade, because then you get a good young player who could be an all-star one day and has like all the potential. As of now, I'd say Brooklyn won that trade though, but I do like Houston on paper. Whether Oladipo plays or not, I got Christian Wood on my fantasy team. I got Harden on my fantasy team, so I'm the big winner here.
Well, I mean, looking at the situation, I feel like long term they definitely won. I mean, they have 4 first-round draft picks now to play with, and pick swaps. I mean, those are assets that a lot of people covet in the league, and I think that, you know, in terms of setup for the future, I think they're set up pretty well, no matter what happens this season. Because, like, if you're looking at their record right now, they're not really playing for much, unless something really turns around or John Wall becomes, you know, John Wall of 2008, 2007, something like that. But I feel like if that's the case, then, you know, we don't really know what's happening right now. But I mean, because the Nets got Harden, they definitely won that side of the trade. But let's look at the Pacers side now, because they traded Victor Oladipo to the Rockets, they lose an all-star caliber player with two-way skill. And now they're leaning on Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon until TJ Warren and LeVert can come back from that, you know, mass that he has. So I'm surprised. I'm still surprised the trade wasn't voided. But I mean, they're losing a good defensive player, but LeVert has the potential to be a decent defensive player with the right guidance, especially in that system, because the Pacers right now have the 7th best defensive rating in the NBA. So I think that he has a lot to work with there. The Pacers have the 3rd best record in the East. Did they get better with LeVert, or maybe did Oladipo, you know, solidify that roster better? Sandeep, what do you think?
I think they did get better because, like you said, they're 3rd in the East already, and Oladipo sat out a few games, you know, like the back-to-backs, as he still kind of recovers from, like, I think as a knee injury he had over the past couple of seasons. But Sabonis and Brogdon, like you said, they've been the backbone of the team this year. You know, Sabonis is putting up double-doubles every game, had a monster, like, 26-24 game, I think, at one point. And then Brogdon's averaging, like, over 20 and, like, 7 assists per game. So those guys are hooping right now. And Caris LeVert, you know, hopefully his injury is not something serious or not something that keeps him out for a while. But you're going to have a guy who is probably going to be happy with a new, you know, change of scenery. Although he was playing well in Brooklyn, but, like, he's going to be playing more team ball now. You know, he's going to be on a team that wanted him. You know, if you think, you know, that's something that can do something mentally for players, is that, hey, this team actually wanted me. Like, they made the move for me. Whereas Brooklyn traded me, meaning they didn't value me enough to keep me, right? So that can always help a player out and, you know, help them get formulated or situated into a new situation. So I think it was a good move for Indiana, especially considering Oladipo's on an expiring contract and he probably was not going to re-sign there. They had to flip him. That's why they were okay with probably like his whole situation with the kidney mass, is that he'll be fine. And when he is, he's going to be here long term and be part of our future.
Yeah, and one part about this trade that nobody really is talking about are the Cavs, because like they're just like a team that was just kind of thrown in there. I mean, even with Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, JaVale McGee, Larry Nance, Cedi Osman, who is absolutely balling right now, by the way, they for some reason wanted to take on Torian Price and Jared Allen, and I think that Jared Allen got the worst end of this deal.
He got the short end of
play behind. The guy's playing behind JaVale McGee, like Andre Drummond and Kevin Love at the same time, and like now the Cavs are the new Knicks in the respect that they now just have a ton of forwards and not a lot of like places to play them. So my question is to you, Henry, why were the Cavs even involved in this trade, and what the heck is their plan?
I don't even know. Like, that caught me by surprise too, as much as you guys. When I saw Jared Allen to the Cavs, I was like, okay, when did the Cavs come into play in all this, you know? But there are talks already that Jared Allen is planning to get traded from the Cavs, so he might not even, you know, stay there for predominantly long. But I feel bad for Jared. Jared Allen is too much of a good player to be in this type of situation. Like he deserved better than that. Like he is the best rim protector in the league, and to get rid of him and then just to throw him, I'm not saying the Cavs are a bad team now because they've been balling, but they're still the Cavs. Like they still have a lot of progression to do, and to throw Jared Allen in there, one, it's unfair. Two, how many big men do they have? They have
Oh my God, so many. I think there's JaVale, there is Andre, and then there's Kevin Love, Larry Nance, depending on whether you think they're truly big men or not. So it's like, in terms of defense, I mean, they are the best scoring defense in the East right now, maybe in the league. I got to relook that up.
They're number 2 in the league right now.
Yeah, so I mean, they do have the defensive capability already. Adding Jared Allen, I guess they solidified that, but then they just have way too many players to play. So I'm not sure what they were doing here in the trade. But
here's my thoughts. I haven't seen the Jared Allen rumors yet about trade, but I think they got him because Andre Drummond is on an expiring deal, and he's going to be the guy that gets traded. Like he's putting up crazy numbers, which is part of the reason why they've been winning some games too. But I don't think they want to pay him 5 years, $200 million like Utah just did for Rudy Gobert. So I think he's gonna. I mean, plus he's in like the prime of his career, right? He's like 25 years old, 26 maybe now, Andre Drummond. So I think the plan is to flip him and then have Jared Allen be a part of their future because he's only like 22 or 23, and he kind of aligns more with Colin Sexton, Larry Nance, Darius Garland. So I as soon as that trade happened, like I was like, why they do that? And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I think that's going to be the next big guy to get moved is Andre Drummond.
Gotcha. Now, speaking about big guys, let's move away from this trade for a second. Kristaps Porzingis made his debut for the Dallas Mavericks, and Kemba Walker is coming back for the Celtics. I mean, if you want to quickly go through it, Henry, what do you think? Who's going to make the bigger impact for their team returning? Is it going to be Kemba Walker, or is it going to be Kristaps Porzingis coming back?
Oh, Kristaps Porzingis. Like that's what the Mavs were missing, and now Luka has his duo back. And because if Kristaps did not get injured last year in the playoffs, I think they would have been the Clippers in the first round. Okay, cool. Because let's not forget Kristaps Porzingis before the trade. And before his injury, he was gonna be the best big man in the East for the Knicks. He was going to be the reason with the Knicks why they're on the map in the first place. Fortunately, the ACL tear happened, yada, yada, yada. Now we're here, though. Now he's with Luka. Now he's back from his recent injury. And I do believe that they do have the potential, for this Euro duo to really take over the league and, put the Mavs over the hump, especially because they have some other solid pieces for the Mavs. So, and plus, it was like the Mavs were playing on like one leg. Luka can't really do everything. He can't really control the offense, but they can't rely on him, for 48 minutes, for all 48 minutes. There's got to be someone else on the team that's going to be able to produce as much as Luka can. And that's where Kristaps comes into play. For Kemba, we're seeing that the Celtics are already doing good without him. So how much more can he bring to the table if they're already, number one in the East? So that at least that's my reasoning as to why I think Kristaps is gonna make more of an impact. But Sandeep, you sounded pretty high on Kristaps. Do you have the same thoughts, or do you have like similar thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, Celtics already first in the East, and second best record I think in the NBA. And they could use a little bit more scoring. That's been the one thing is it's been Tatum and Brown, right, that have been carrying the load, and then other guys like Teague will contribute here and there. Pritchard's been playing well here and there. Ojeley had a decent game the other day, but they need another consistent 15 to 20 point score. So Kemba will definitely help them in that area. But KP, man, like you said, yeah, he's the second guy. He's the guy they brought in from the Knicks, maxed him out, and they need him on the court. So he's been kind of like injury prone the last few years, and Luka, as special as he is, he can't do everything. So it definitely helps the Mavs more than it helps the Celtics.
Yeah, Luka, I mean, he leads the league in usage right now. So, I mean, with Kristaps Porzingis coming back, you cannot understate how much he appreciates that second help coming in, because now he doesn't have to do everything for the Mavs, even though for us it's super entertaining. But let's move ahead to the week upcoming. So we have the Nets and the Bucks. That's a game that I'm really looking forward to. The Bucks are the 5th best defensive team in the East in terms of scoring. Harden obviously playing with a chip on his shoulder after watching him this past week. And I think we'll get a good indication of where the Nets are at in terms of chemistry, even without Irving playing. So in that game, Sandeep, what are you going to be looking for?
So the Bucks are going to be trying to come out, set the tone, like, right, because they're going to be like, hey, they're like, we're the best team in the East. Just because you guys got this little trio now don't mean squat to us. Like, we're gonna, defense wins championships. That's what they're gonna try to prove. Not that they've won a championship, but they're gonna come out and try to set the tone. And on the flip side, man, like those guys in Brooklyn, they're gonna get buckets. And as good as the Bucks are defensively, offense wins games too. And we saw Giannis on Friday night go 1 of 10 from the free throw line. It's not too great for a two-time MVP. So
that was a historic free throw performance I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, the good thing for the Nets is, like I said, I think Kyrie is going to play because he was very close to playing yesterday. So if Kyrie's in the mix too, like Drew Holiday's either going to be on Harden or Kyrie, leaving one of those two guys, to be guarded by. DiVincenzo is going to get destroyed, because Giannis is going to be on KD. So, yeah, that man's going to be put on an island. It's going to be bad. Oh, they got Middleton too. That's true. So maybe Middleton would be on one of those two guys. But I think the Nets are going to they have more to prove, because they put this trio together, and it's kind of it's almost like you shouldn't lose now when you have three guys like that on the same team,
So what would it mean if they did lose this game? Let's say if they lose to the Bucks. What do you guys think that means? I know people are going to over-exaggerate, but at least, in the small sample size that we're going to get, losing to the best team in the East, what type of message does it send?
Overall, I don't think it really means much, but it just means that right now they're going to take a little while to kind of get in rhythm with each other. I think we truly won't get to see what the Nets can be maybe until 5 games down the road, because that'll give them practice time. That'll give them time to actually get, acquainted with each other and their games on the same team, because some of them haven't played together. But I think in terms of, if they lose this game, the only thing that it tells me is that the Bucks are good and the Nets haven't really figured out who they are yet. That's it.
Yeah, actually, I take back what I said. I think this game means more to the Bucks because, like you said, the Nets are they just put this team together. It's going to take them a few games, right, to get the chemistry. Like, if they're going to come out and win this game, it'd be big. But then people will be like, oh man, the Bucks, are they in trouble now? Because do they need to make a move? Because do they have enough, with the guys they have? So I think this game means more to the Bucks than it does the Nets.
Right, and in general, and then moving past this game, another thing I'm actually looking forward to is just Bradley Beal in general. And it doesn't have to be a game. It's just Bradley Beal news. I am looking forward to anything involving Bradley Beal, because right now he's averaging 45 points on 50, 90 shooting. That's insane.
35.
That's an insane
He's 35. He's averaging 35.
35. In the last 3 games. I'm sorry. In the last 3 games.
I was like, dude, 45? That's crazy.
45 a game?
Let's fact check me. Okay, no. For the past 3 games, 45 points. He had that 6-game point performance last week. I mean, and also James Harden being traded. Now the market is actually set for Bradley Beal. So now we know what the team that when we know what Washington can get for him. And there are some potential teams that can go after him: the 76ers, the Heat, the Mavs, the Nuggets. I mean, we got some squads that are looking at deep playoff runs that can get one of the best players / one of the best offensive players in the league. So in terms of that, Sandeep, what are you looking more forward to? His performance on the court, or the rumors and speculation that's going to fly for sure off the court?
The rumors, man. The rumors for sure. I wrote a story on this. Yeah, I wrote a story on this on why the Wizards should free Bradley Beal. Should be going up today or tomorrow, but so look for that on the FineBet site. But it's going to be the rumors. I already saw one yesterday too. A reporter from the Miami Herald reported that if Bradley Beal were available, that the Heat would definitely they're interested. And you got to think Pat Riley is he's scheming right now because he missed out on James Harden.
He's Birdman right now. Birdman right now.
He is. And Miami went to the finals last year. Pushed the Lakers to 6 games, and as good as some of their young guys are, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, sorry, but those guys aren't getting it done against the Nets this year. I don't even think they're better than the Bucks, even though they beat them last year because the Bucks got better. I think the Pacers are better than the Heat too, this season. Because all these teams made moves to get better and the Heat didn't do anything. So if Bradley Beal becomes available, like I think Pat Riley's gonna go all in and try to get him.
So you think he's willing to give up Tyler Hero?
You have to, yeah. Like you got Jimmy Butler,
Deal,
yeah. Like
True,
look, Tyler Hero's good, but like he's still young, but I don't know if he could become like what Bradley Beal has become in this league.
Well, Henry, where do you think is the best place for Bradley Beal to go if he gets traded?
Okay, well, the best place for Bradley Beal to go is the Heat, but I don't think that would be the best move maybe for the Heat, because if you think about it, the way they got to the finals last year, I'm all for team-oriented basketball. It goes to show that it proves to be better than ISO basketball. That's what Bradley Beal is going to turn the Heat into. He's a very ball-dominant player that has a lot of ISO time, and that's why the Heat work so well, because they run the ball through Duncan, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam, all four in a very well-balanced way that it proved to be too much for teams like the Bucks and the Pacers and all those guys, and the Celtics last year. So I know they're off to a rough start. They even lost to the Pistons last game, but I feel like they'll figure it out. That maybe Pat Riley shouldn't gamble his future for Bradley Beal just yet, at least, because Tyler Hero has a lot of potential, like a Manu Ginobili type of potential in terms of like impact as a sixth man for that team, and Duncan Robinson too. Like I feel like that'd be maybe giving up.
But they got to take advantage of this window that just opened up, because Jimmy Butler, you sign him to a max contract. He's in the prime of his career, and he takes care of his body, but like he's already like 29 years old, and then like your window just opened up with
and he played under Thibodeau, so his knees are like probably like grinding down a lot quicker than
Look, I think Hero's going to be a good player, but like if you want to compete right now, and Pat Riley wants to, because having got so close to like a championship last season, like he wants to compete and he wants to be in the finals. That's what the Heat are all about, right? He's winning. So I think Bradley Beal at the end of the day gets you closer to that mark than to that goal than Tyler Hero does. And like I think he'll fit fine in that system. Like he does play some ISO ball here and there, and he will even when he comes to the Heat. But like he's played off the ball before, right? When they had John Wall, even with Westbrook now, he's been doing it a little bit. And the way they move the ball over in Washington, I think they're one of the highest scoring teams in the league, right now. So I think he'll be fine in the system, and he's going to get to play under a great coach, in Eric Spoelstra. Like I think he would be just perfect for that system.
Makes a lot of sense to me. All right, that's it, folks. This episode of 3 in the Key is over. Thank you for listening. This will be our last weekend show, so be sure to catch us on Thursday evenings starting this week. And be sure to look out for our work on FineBet.com. See you in a couple of days, guys.